Hello, everybody, and welcome back into another Hockey Writers Roundtable episode here. We're doing the Ottawa Senators, our third episode here, and we've got two writers from the Ottawa Senators writing team, Paul Quinney and Jacob Billington. First of all, Paul, welcome back. I mean, we haven't seen you since Flames face-off, so it's been a while. How's it going?
Yeah, it's good. It's great to be back. Flames face-off. We should resurrect that.
Yeah, we get enough people, we get that going again. But yeah, it's great seeing you and Jacob. Of course, we've seen you on Fantasy Forecheck, but how's it going?
Good. Got a lot of stuff going on. Just started up the Hockey Writers TikTok again, so
Nice.
Get that going. See how that goes.
All right, well, that's exciting. But we're here to talk Ottawa Senators, and we're going to be talking of quite a few questions through this roundtable. There's a roundtable article out. If you haven't read it already, get it out, and you can read their responses, or you can just watch the episode and see how it goes. But we'll start off with one of their bigger acquisitions here. Well, they traded DeBrincat, brought in Kubalik, but I mean, he's not a massive name, but they did sign a guy, Vladimir Tarasenko, from the Rangers with the St. Louis Blues. But it's a pretty big free agent, only a one-year deal. But, after signing him, they're going to have to fit him into the lineup. So that's the question. Start with you, Paul. How are they going to fit Tarasenko into this lineup? Quite a few stars. They got Tim Stutzle on the top line. Will he play there? Where do you see him fitting in the Senators roster?
Yeah, if I were coaching the Sens, I mean, there's one place for him, and that's on the first line with Tkachuk and Stutzle. I want a first line with a lot of impact, and that line right there would arguably be one of the most potent lines in the NHL. So, that's where I'd put him. I know there's a bit of debate about, well, do you mix the lines up, maybe spread the firepower out? But no, I want a quick start at the start of the season. And one of the reasons the Senators have not been in the playoffs is for the last few years is they've had really crummy starts. So I want a really great start, and that's how I think I'd get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, get the ball rolling right away. I mean, Tarasenko is probably good for 25, 30 goals. Maybe in playing with Stutzle, I definitely probably could get that. That's a great spot for him. Jacob, what do you think? Do you agree? Does he go on the top line, or would you put him somewhere else in the top six there?
It's really hard to move Claude Giroux out of that top right wing spot. He was fantastic last year, tied his career high in goals. But when you think about it, it's hard to say that Tarasenko is a pure sniper because both Tkachuk and Stutzle have outscored him over last season. But having elite playmaker Brady Tkachuk, having an elite power forward and an elite playmaker in Tim Stutzle, and then having an elite sniper with a shot like Tarasenko, that's a perfect trio. That's kind of, when you look at the chemistry on NHL 23, that's like the perfect line, whatever. But it's going to be really hard to move Giroux off that line. I do think that he is going to start there, and Giroux is going to go down to the second line left wing. But time will tell. I do think that that's the best spot for him to succeed, and as well as give the whole top six a nice balance look.
Mm-hmm.
The thing with Tarasenko too is they've only got him for a year, right? And then he's gone. So you want to give him the best experience he can have here in Ottawa. Presumably they want him long term, and so you might as well fire everything you got with Tarasenko. Would be my view.
Yeah, I mean, he was okay on the Rangers. I mean, he wasn't blowing the doors off anything, but very good in St. Louis. And I mean, he is on the older side, I guess, but he can still score goals. And you put him with some talented players, I think he's going to be able to put together at least. I would say if he doesn't hit 20 goals, that's a big disappointment. So, I mean, he's got to hit at least that, I think.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's move from the offense and to goaltending, which, the Senators have had up and down goaltending throughout the last few seasons. Cam Talbot was injured quite a bit last season, had a lot of injuries actually throughout. And, Anton Forsberg with his 2 MCL. I mean, my gosh, I mean, that's just bad luck at 2 MCL injuries, both knees getting destroyed. So hopefully he's back healthy, but they did sign Joonas Korpisalo to presumably take over the starting position. We'll start with you, Jacob. Forsberg and Korpisalo will probably be the tandem. If they stay healthy, is that a good enough 1A, 1B, I guess, to get the Senators to the playoffs?
If they stay healthy, absolutely. Joonas Korpisalo is coming off of a really good year between the Blue Jackets and Kings. And Anton Forsberg, not last year, but the year before, he was fantastic for the Senators, and the team wasn't very good. So they're both goalies that have been shown to be capable of being true starters. That's how Forsberg got his contract. That's how Korpisalo just earned his contract with the Senators. It's going to be really interesting to see if they can stay healthy. And again, like you mentioned, the 2 MCL injuries to Forsberg, and it was on the same play. Like, that was so hard to watch. But if he can come back in true form, I think that they're fine. I think that it's going to be really hard to come back from that kind of injury, and I do think that we're going to see a lot of Matthew Zator up in the NHL this year. So I don't know if Korpisalo and Sogard, I don't have as much confidence in them, but I do think that, as the question is, if they're healthy, then absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. I think Korpisalo, has bounced back from his time in Columbus. I mean, he wasn't that good. I think he was good in points, but he did have some struggles there. Paul, what do you think about the goaltending going into this season? Is it a strong enough tandem to get the Senators to the playoffs? I mean, of course, if they stay healthy.
Well, yeah, if they stay healthy. But look, I wrote a piece about a week ago. Senators could regret choice of signing of Korpisalo, and that didn't go over well in the fan base. I was thinking I might have to go into a witness protection program. But be that as it may, I thought it was a risky signing. I mean, come on, 5 years, and when you got, as Jacob was saying, some talent like Sogard coming up behind. He's never really been a starting goaltender anywhere, never played more than 40 games. Sure, he had a great season last year, but he's been inconsistent. I mean, look at his previous 2. So I'm not sold on him. That said, look, Dorian was in a hard place, right? He had to bring in someone, and he was probably the best that was available on the free agency market at the time. Forsberg, you're mentioning his health. I worry about that. He's trying to come back with two badly injured knees. And then sure, you can say, well, not to worry, we can bring up Matt Sogard. But then, if I'm looking at the long term, I really hate that idea, because you're rushing this young man along, and there's been many instances where goaltenders brought along too quickly. You've really damaged them long term. So yeah, clear as mud for me in the goaltending situation.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out. I mean, Cam Talbot last season, everyone thought, oh, maybe he'll be the starter and be a good starter for them, but he was hurt. Well, I mean, he was hurt a lot some of the year, and then he wasn't that good when he was in goal. So it didn't really pan out. And Korpisalo is similar, I think. I think he's a similar type of goaltender. I mean, inconsistent. You're not sure what you're going to get with him. And 4 years is it's not really long-term, but it's pretty long-term for a guy that's inconsistent like that. So we'll see how he kind of does.
I agree with you with the goaltending luck Ottawa's had. I mean, what's the old saying? If they didn't have bad luck, they wouldn't have any luck at all. Yeah. That's all you've been getting in the last few years. So
yeah, well, since Craig Anderson, that was their last real good, solid goaltender that and he was. Yeah, I would say probably he was the last solid goaltender they had that they could count on. Yeah, that was a while ago now.
Isn't he still available?
He's in where is he now? He was in Buffalo. I don't know if he's
retired now.
He's retired. He did retire. Yeah. finally. But I mean, had a pretty good end to his career there. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, well, let's move on to we went from a new signing to goaltending to now we're going to go to prospects, and they've got some exciting prospects coming up. Some that may make the NHL. I know, Paul, you wrote an article about some prospects that could potentially be in the NHL this season. We'll start with you on that one. There's some prospects that you're excited about seeing this season?
Well, I think there's a high probability that Ridly Greig and JBD, Bernard Docker, they'll win full-time spots. I mean, the article I wrote was, look, injuries and so forth, the vagaries of play in the NHL, you're going to see a lot of different prospects, but the question is, okay, which prospects can play their way onto a regular spot? And I said, well, I had to choose three. I took Greig, JBD, and Sokolov. I was kind of on the fence with Sokolov, Igor Sokolov. I kind of, after I wrote it and it was published, I was thinking, you know what, maybe it was Yuri Smedkel that should have been, that I should have identified as one of the prospects that could play their way on to a regular spot. So those are my three bets. There's where I'd put my nickels if I were betting. But I think over the season, you're probably going to see Angus Cruikshank. If I'm Dorion and Smith, I really want to look at him. Good Vancouver boy. Robbie Yarventi. I'm not sure about my Finnish accent there, but you'd want to look at him. And then on defense, it was interesting. The feedback I got from my readers was, what are you doing talking about Bernard Docker? They seem to feel, hey, give us Tyler Cleveland. And okay, he's young, but man, the size of that kid, he's going to be a colossus on the Ottawa blue line. And he's got a nasty streak. I'd just be worried about bringing him along too quick. But I think, with injuries and whatnot, I suspect you're gonna get a look at him. So those would be my picks.
Yeah, that's some interesting ones there. I'm excited to see Ridly Greig. I really like his style of game. He's probably that third, fourth line guy that can get under the skin, be a good checking line guy, penalty killer. Energy guy. So I'm really excited to see what he can do over a full season. Hopefully he's healthy throughout the whole season as well, but we'll see. All right, Jacob, what do you think about the prospects? Who are you excited to see this season?
I'm going to start by saying I don't know if we do consider him a prospect, but like you mentioned, Paul, Yuri Smedkel, I'm so excited to see him compete for hopefully the third line left wing. That's where I expect to see him. I'm going to give a shout out to the Sens podcast. They interviewed the head coach of his Czech team, and they did a fantastic job talking about what kind of player are we expecting. And he said that for such a big guy, he's got fantastic skating. He's got some great hands. He's got a lot of skill. Now he's not going to push the top of the lineup, but he can be a middle six player for an NHL team. So I'm excited to see him, but I'm not sure if we're considering him a prospect. I do really like Tyler Cleven. I like Ridly Greig. I like Angus Cruikshank. But Tyler Boucher is who I'm most excited for. His physicality, his level of compete. He wants to win so bad. And I don't know if it's Pierre Dorion's way of kind of justifying 10th overall, but the way he talks about him is like he's his own son. And it's like just all the character that these guys are that the Senators are drafting, all these guys, he's just such a fun guy. If you listen to the interviews, whether it was on the Coming in Hot podcast, Locked on Senator, wherever you listen to Tyler Boucher talk, TSN 1200, he's always so much fun to listen to. So not only is he a great character, but the way he plays is such an Ottawa fit. And I don't know if he's going to make the NHL this year. He might contend by Christmas and be a call-up for any injuries, but I'm really excited to see him play, whether it's the AHL or NHL.
Yep. Good choice. Yeah, he is a card. Yeah.
Yeah, personality is great with him. And I mean, Tyler Boucher, I mean, where he was drafted aside, like you said, I mean, yes, he was drafted too high, but still a very skilled player. Was projected to be in the first round, I believe, but not that early. He was supposed to be like later first, early second, I believe, from what I can remember from back then. But, you know, he's still a really good player. Just forget that he was drafted really high and hope that maybe he will pan out to be that type of guy, but we'll see. But yeah, I'm excited to see what he can do as well. Okay, well, let's move to I mean, the Sens Rocket Richard Trophy, and this is the leading goal scorer. You know, I'm thinking it's Stutzle, but Jacob, what do you think? Who's winning that distinction this season?
Stutzle is the easy pick. He won the Senators Rocket Richard last year with 39. I definitely think he's going to build on his season last year. I think he's going to push 100 points, maybe even hit 45, 50 goals. But I'm going to go with Brady Tkachuk on this. So, like I mentioned with Vladimir Tarasenko, I think that he should fit in on the top wing. Now, it makes sense that Tarasenko would be getting more goals and taking some away from those two players. But with Brady Tkachuk, he's always in front of the net. He's always in the corners. He's always in every single battle. He's getting the tip-ins. He's getting the rebounds. He's a pad stuffer. A lot of them go in. But like having all those extra shots going towards the net, and I mean, Giroux scored 35, which is double what Tarasenko had last year. So might be overthinking it, but just the lethal shot that Tarasenko has is going to put even more pucks on net. So I think the Brady Tkachuk is in a perfect spot too. Maybe even challenge 45, 50 goals, like I said with Stutzle. So it might be a little bit but
it's a good pick. I mean, anyone on that top line, you're probably going to be pretty good. All right, Paul, what do you think? Is it Stutzle or you got someone else?
This is a mug's game, Matthew. I'm telling you, I'm going to be embarrassed about this when you replay it, but I'm going to go out on a limb. I'm saying Stutzle. I'm saying he's going to score 45 goals. He's going to be a plus 100 points man this year. Reason I think that, because he's with Tarasenko, there's going to be opportunities to set him up. I think he's on a curve. You know, in the last 3 years, if you look at where he was when he first came into the league and today, he's tripled his points production. I think he'll carry on that curve. What'll make him even better this year is I think he'll be more confident with the goaltending that he's got behind him and the decor. So that's, you know, I'm thinking he'll adopt a riskier style. There was a question, I think, of, you know, if you look at the top six, I think that was part of the question. How many goals collectively are those guys going to get? And again, I'll go out on a limb. They will score. They'll make the goal light burn red 150 times. That's my big bold prediction. So we'll see. But I know someone's going to replay this. And,
I'm going to jump in here.
Yeah.
I'm going to say higher than 150. I'd say like
150?
170.
Wow.
I think every single player projected to be in the top six is capable of 30 goals. I don't think they're all going to score 30 this year, but they're all capable of it. So I'm going to say 165.
Well, there's Billington, a courageous man, a blue filter. He's going out on a limb there.
Greedy of me.
All right, see you, Jacob.
Well, we'll keep this clip. We'll in our season wrap up, we'll talk about it. We'll see who's the closest.
All right.
Okay, let's move from the offense to the defense, and they've got a few defensemen that are capable of putting up points. Got Jake Sanderson, Thomas Chabot, and of course Jacob Chychrun, who they acquired last season. I start with you, Paul. Which of these three will lead the Senators' blue line in points this season?
Well, again, I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying Thomas Chabot with 45, followed by Sanderson at 40 and Chychrun at 35. But I got to tell you, I'm not. There's questions I have about Thomas Chabot. You know, he can be inconsistent. I've seen that in the last few years. I don't know why. It could be, you know, he's carrying the load. He's carrying the most minutes. I'm assuming that this year, because they've upgraded the decor, that he's going to face fewer minutes, and that'll pay off in better points production. But anyway, that's the way I'd call it.
I think biggest thing is Chychrun staying healthy for him to put up that amount of points, because I mean, he was hurt. He's been hurt and quite a bit in the last couple seasons. So definitely capable, but he has to be on the ice to do that, to put up the points.
Yeah.
So, all right, Jacob, I may have taken some of your answer away, but what do you think about those three? Who's leading in points?
I mean, I think the answer is the same for me, regardless of healthy or not. It's going to be Chabot. I think people forget that Thomas Chabot led the Senators defense with 55 points in 70 games back in his sophomore season. And I believe that was the season that Jean-Gabriel Pageau led the team in goals with like 24. Like, there was no offense on that team. It was right after, like, when they started rebuilding, when they got Duchesne. Maybe I have my years mixed up, but either way, he led the defense with 55 points in 70 games. That's fantastic. He can definitely get back to that, especially if he stays healthy. There's so much more offense on this team than he's been used to playing with. He's going to be able to move the puck a lot better. He struggled a lot last year, some defensive collapses, and especially on the blue line, like he wasn't holding the blue line and he was not making smart plays. But I do think that he's going to have a strong bounce back here. He's got a way better defensive group to play with. Jake Sanderson's continuing to develop. Jacob Chychrun, obviously. Travis Hamonic, he's probably going to be in the lineup. He might be switching around with Jacob Bernard-Docker. Like, there's so many defensemen capable of playing the defensive part of the game. I think Chabot is going to be able to take that extra step. People talk about Chychrun and his offensive ability. He's a fantastic two-way defenseman. He's great defensively. And so if they are partnered up like it's projected to be for the top pair, I think that Chabot's going to take more of the offensive role on that. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah. I think Chabot's capable of putting up like Carlson type numbers when he was in Ottawa. Not 100 points like he did in San Jose, but like 70 plus. I definitely can see that, because with the amount of, like you guys talk about the skill in the top six, I mean, he's going to benefit from that with, you know, his playmaking. So I think Chabot has a definite chance of, if he stays healthy, hitting the 60, 70 point mark at some point. I don't know about this season, but I think he's definitely capable of doing it. All right, let's move to behind the bench and DJ Smith. And he was on the hot seat, but he's back. So we'll start with you, Jacob. Is that the right call, bringing him back? And especially, he hasn't really had a lot of success behind the bench for the Senators.
No, I'm impressed that he still has a job. He must be one of the nicest guys you've ever met. In all the interviews that you see and all the videos that the Sens media posts, he's always yelling when he talks. It's actually quite hilarious. If you look at the video the Senators posted the other day of Boko Imama coming to the rink, when he meets it, it's like Pierre Dorion sits there, shakes his hand, and he's just like saying, "Hi, nice to meet you," whatever. And then DJ Smith shakes his hand and he's yelling at him like, "Hi, nice to meet you," whatever. And it's just, I don't know. He must be the nicest guy, but I don't know how he's kept his job. I really like DJ Smith. He got this team through the rebuild. He's helped develop all these guys into the players they are. I don't think this team is as good as they are today without DJ Smith for the last 4 years. So it's hard to kind of give up on him before he finally has a team worthy of making a playoff push. So I do think that he is still the right guy, but I think he's got like a 7-10 game lease to start the year.
Yeah, well, there's your hot start type thing, Paul. Like you said, they have to get onto a hot start for a few players and even for the coach. So what do you think? Was it the right choice to bring DJ Smith back?
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning, toward Jacob here. Whereas 4 years without making the playoffs in any other galaxy would ensure you got a one-way ticket out of town. I think you've got to cut some slack for DJ. I mean, he was presiding over a rebuild. Can't be blamed for that. But as you say, if they get out to a slow start, if they dig themselves another hole the way they have for the last 2 years, he's gone. I don't see it. That's untenable. So, we'll cut him some slack, give him, that's a pretty tight leash, Jacob. But I was going to give him to American Thanksgiving, and then and then
Yeah.
say sayonara as they do in Japanese hockey. But yeah, he's on a short leash, any way you look at it this year.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's probably, yeah, I'd give him longer than 10 games. I mean, I think, but you don't know. I mean, you need to get off to a good start. We've seen it many times. You can't, it's hard to dig yourself out of a hole, especially in the division that the Senators are in. You can't get off to a bad start. You've got to have at least I'd say at least a 500 start to stay in the race.
He's got to get it across to that team. Look, guys, every game in the 82 schedule counts. You can't say, hey, we can blow off a few games early in the season, because they blew off 20 last year and they never dug themselves out of that hole.
Mm-hmm.
So, and sure, you can say, look, if you look at the last half of the season, they were playing at a rate that would have got them the wild card spot. But, that's $1 short and a day late, as they say,
Mm-hmm.
right? Doesn't matter when you blow off 20 games at the start of the season. So he can't do that again.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to back up my 10 games just to kind of keep this going a little bit. The Senators have been out of the playoffs by the middle of November, 3 years in a row now. It's the biggest thing that DJ Smith has struggled with this team. And I know it's completely new personnel, whatever, but that's 3 years in a row with completely new personnel that they have sucked out of the gate. Now they've had some great games. The home opener in Ottawa this year against Boston it felt like a playoff game. Like there was so much energy in the rink. It was amazing. But they just 15 games into the season, and they were like, well, we're playing from behind now. And see the stats that it's like at this certain point of the season, if a team is more than 4 points out of a playoff spot, they hardly ever make it. You see all those posts around November every single year. Ottawa can't be in that position again. I'm sticking to my 10 games. He's got to have that really short leash.
Yeah. Right. What's between Canadian Thanksgiving and American Thanksgiving? I don't know if there's anything there, but maybe not as long as American Thanksgiving, but a little longer than Canadian Thanksgiving.
Halfway between. Okay, let's get to our quick fire round here. And I got 4 questions for you guys. We'll start with you on this first one, Paul. Go back to the Alex DeBrincat trade. Did they get enough for this guy?
No, but what choice do they have? I mean, the guy wants out of town, and it's slim pickings out there. So, I think Dorion did about as well as he could have.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jacob, what do you think?
I think yes. Dominic Kubalik, 20-goal scorer. He's going to fit perfect on that third line with hopefully Shane Pinto if they can get him signed. And Sebrango, underrated prospect. He's pretty good. Ottawa hometown guy. People are going to love to have him around. He's going to have a big fan base in Ottawa. And first round pick. Don't underestimate it. It's either going to be Boston's or Detroit's, the worst of the two. There's a good chance neither of them make the playoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he did a good enough job, like you said, Paul, with what he had. I mean, it's not like he was going to get a ton for him. He wanted out of there. So, I mean, he got as good as he was going to get, I think. So, but yeah, I really liked Sebrango. I was actually a little angry that he's not in Detroit anymore, but we'll see how he does in Ottawa. Hometown kid, so probably do pretty well. All right, over to you, Jacob, on this next one. A surprising rookie that could potentially make the lineup and you wouldn't expect.
Angus Crookshank. I know a lot of people really like him and want him to make the team, but you ask anybody that isn't an Ottawa fan or something, nobody's going to say that Angus Crookshank is going to make the team. He has so much energy. He has so much talent. He's dealt with a lot of injuries so far. He missed a whole season with leg injury, but he's like a perfect fit for that fourth line left wing spot. If you can take that from Parker Kelly, Smika, or Greig, some of those three are going to be playing there. Obviously, DeBrincat's going to be in the bottom, or not Kubalik, sorry. He's going to be in that bottom six as well. So there's a lot of positions to fight over, but I think Crookshank is a dark horse for this.
Yeah, I like energy players like that, so he could definitely surprise and do that. Paul, what do you think? A surprising rookie that could potentially make it that no one expects?
I could see Crookshank. I mean, Matthew, he's a good Vancouver boy, right? And maybe Yarventi, if he has a good camp, I could see him making it. But it's such a long shot, as Jacob was saying, that he referenced the dark horse, right? And this is hockey, and there's always some dark horse that comes along that turns the head of management and wins over the hearts of fans. And we may see that this year, and it could be Yarventi.
Yeah, I could see that too. So lots of interesting picks. So we'll see what happens in training camp. All right, next one, Jacob, is Ridly Greig a full-time NHLer this season?
No, I think that a lot of people want him to be. I want him to be. He needs to get some strength in the AHL. He's 160 pounds soaking wet. He plays that physical, pesky game that he can't play at 160 pounds in the NHL. He needs to just get used to the speed of pro hockey. He played 20 games with the Senators last year. He looked fantastic. He fits into the NHL. But 1 year, even a half a year in the AHL is going to make him so much of a better player down the road. So I'm going to say no.
All right. Paul, what do you think about Ridly Greig? Is he full-time NHLer this season?
Hey, Jacob, I'm going to go with my heart, man. I'm saying yes. Well, if for no other reason that I went out on a limb in my article and said he would. But no, yeah, I take your point. He hasn't filled out, but he is I don't know if I can say this. He's an ornery little cuss. He's what's that? A little ball of hate, and I think he could crack the lineup, but we'll see. But I do take your point. He's on the small side, and he's 21, right?
Yeah.
But man, he's got some poise. I think he had 20 games last year?
Yeah.
In NHL. So yeah, I think he could do it.
Yeah. I love Ridly Greig. So I'm gonna say yes too. I'm gonna hope that he does it, because I really love his game, his style of game, and yeah, he's my type of player. So I'm hoping he does too.
Now you're such a romantic, Matthew.
All right, final question, Paul. Have the Sens improved enough to be a playoff team this year?
Well, I was thinking about that this afternoon, looking at some stats, and I would have to say they're on the bubble. They're in tight. I mean, that Atlantic division has improved, and I know Boston's going down, but if it'll be touch and go. I could see them making it as a wild card, but man, they're really going to have to up their game to make it as one of the top three in their division and secure a spot that way.
Yeah, that Atlantic division is just insane. All right, Jacob, what do you think? Have they improved enough, at least on paper, to be a playoff team this year?
On paper, I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish fifth. I wouldn't be surprised to see them finish second in the division. The Toronto, number one, there's no question about it. They're by far the best team in the Atlantic. Boston, Tampa, Florida, Ottawa, and Buffalo. All five of those teams are right there. And I'll say it to Detroit too. I don't love what Detroit's been doing. I'm not a fan of the Yzer plan right now, although I can respect it. But those five teams are completely interchangeable. Like Boston, Florida, Tampa, they all objectively got worse this offseason. And Buffalo and Ottawa are right there. So any one of those teams can finish anywhere between 2 and 5.
Yeah. Watch Buffalo. I mean, Buffalo's going to be, they're going to be an exciting team just to watch, see what they can do, because they just got so much talent and they're up and coming. So we'll see what powers, those old powers, fall first, and some of these new ones kind of replace them, because I think it's coming. Boston will be the first one to fall. I think they're just banking on these veterans right now, and eventually they're gonna have some young guys step up and take over. And I don't know, I don't really see that coming. I mean, Fabian Lysell is the only prospect I see that could potentially be a top 6 type guy, but
John Beach might make his way into that middle six.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's going to be
Jacob,
interesting.
Jacob, you just condemned the Leafs to a first round exit. Number one. I mean,
I love it.
you're basically saying they're good when it doesn't count, which is sadly true. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, we're gonna have to do this again. Another roundtable. We'll hopefully. I want to do these every month throughout the season to kind of touch base with as many teams as we can through this roundtable show. So, thanks, Paul. Thanks, Jacob, for joining our first one. We're also going to be doing a season preview coming up, so hopefully both you can join for that one as well. So, thanks, Paul, and thanks, Jacob, for joining in on the show.
It was a lot of fun, Matthew. Look forward to doing it again.
All right. Well, before we leave, just anything you guys want to promote, Paul, any upcoming articles, your Twitter, whatever you want.
Yeah, no, nothing. I've got some surprises. I wrote an article this week that got good traction. It was basically me saying that it didn't make business sense for the Senators to leave Canada and go downtown. So as far as I can tell, that was Pulitzer Prize winning material in the West End, but I need to be, I worry about my personal safety if I go east of Woodruff. So that's the only thing, to any readers who may want to take a look at that, take a look at that one.
Sure. All right. Make sure to take a look at that article. Jacob, what about you? Any upcoming articles? Any articles that are out already you kind of want to promote here?
Like you said at the beginning of the show, I released the roundtable with the same questions. There was a few more people that added their answers and stuff. And I've got a couple of other things getting ready to post. One of them is pretty big. It's who's the best senator with every number. So I've been working on that one for a while. It's taken a lot of research, especially with some of the obscure numbers. I'm like, I don't even know who half of these guys are that have won this number. And I have to go look through all their stats, see how they were as senators, and reach out to some people, say when they were around, how were they? So a lot of research going into this. Want to get it right. I even released a poll for every number, let some people pick. So doing the write-ups now. So should be pretty exciting. And like I said, make sure to go check out the Hockey Writers TikTok. It is at the Hockey Writers.
All right, make sure you're checking out the TikTok and of course following both the Hockey Writers and Jacob and Paul on Twitter as well, or X, whatever they want to be calling it now. And also follow the Hockey Writers on Twitter as well, and go over to the Hockey Writers and check out all the Ottawa Senators articles from the other writing. Like you said, there's a few other guys that contributed to that roundtable articles. Check out their responses. There's be a link in the show description there, so you can just check that out. I'll also throw the two articles you guys just mentioned as well in the description, so check that out. And give us a like on this video and subscribe to the Hockey Writers YouTube channel, and check out that TikTok. Subscribe to the TikTok account as well. So lots of stuff coming up. We've got preview stuff going on at the Hockey Writers throughout the off season, and of course these roundtables will continue throughout as well. And we'll look forward to our season preview. So until next time, we'll see you on another roundtable at the Hockey Writers.